Let's turn in our Bibles to Matthew 18, and we're going to look at one of the amazing stories. And it's a story where Jesus is telling how each individual matters, like one person matters, doesn't matter who they are. But they really matter, they are valuable, and he's using children as an example. And he says, we read from verse 10 to verse 14, "Take heed that you do not despise one of these little ones, for I say to you that in heaven their angels always see the face of my Father who is in heaven. For the Son of Man has come to save that which was lost. What do you think? If a man had 100 sheep and one of them goes astray, does he not leave the 99 and go to the mountains to seek the one that is straying? And if he should find it, assuredly I say to you, he rejoices more over that sheep than over the 99 that did not go astray. Even so, it is not the will of your Father who is in heaven that one of these little ones should perish." It's a strange story. Somehow it doesn't sound right. I mean, what kind of irresponsible shepherd is that? Leaves 99 just for one. There's something wrong with that. Like we would say that. Which one would you like to be? One of the 99 or the one that is getting all the attention and love and care, but lost? It's a good question. I was visiting one of our churches and I had been pastoring that church in the past, and whenever I go there, I always meet people personally, and I meet people also who don't come to the church anymore. In this story, This story can be illustrating two things. It can be illustrating people who are not lost, who are not born again, how they can be found, and the shepherd goes and finds them, and they are brought into the place where they belong, and they are saved. But it could be also, and it's most probably makes sense to interpret it this way, that it is a picture of someone who is saved and is lost again. Somebody who is from the church, from the crowd, from the flock, and then goes astray and is lost again. So when I visited this church, somebody came to me and was kind of offended and said that, "Why do you spend time with those who have left the church? Why do you spend time with those people who have left the church?" And I had one very short answer to that. I said, "Because I'm still their pastor." That will not change. I thought about this in relationship with the story of David and Absalom. What a strong story that is. You remember that in 2 Samuel 18 and 19, how David loved Absalom, and a lot of People would say he loved him too much, but he continued to be the father. He never stopped to be the father to Absalom. He was always there. And even though Absalom did so many things wrong and finally went against his father, and his father's army was in danger because of him, and you remember how he ended up being killed. And when they brought the news to David, he was not happy, he was not rejoicing, even though he was the worst enemy of his own army. And he was saying, my son Absalom, my son Absalom. He never stopped being his father. He always continued to be a father to Absalom. And when I said to this person that I spent time with them and I called them and I listened to them because I continue to be their pastor and they probably need me more now than ever. But it's interesting in this story of David and Absalom how David had in chapter 18, he had in the beginning of the chapter, he had told his warlord that deal gently with Absalom, right? In 2 Samuel 18:5, deal gently with Absalom. But God cannot deal gently with sin. God cannot do that. If God dealt gently with sin, then Christ would never have died on the cross. And that's not going to change. And it's interesting, this fine line between loving somebody unconditionally and loving someone in truth. Sometimes it leads to this kind of a place where we end up seeing somebody being chastised by God, because God always deals with sin even if we don't. And David told to deal gently with Absalom, but they killed him. And it was in God's, providence and God's sovereign plan. But this brings to me just this encouragement about the ministry of restoration, how it's one of the most beautiful aspects of love. It's the ministry of restoration. And I think that David just refused to call his son his enemy. Even though God would deal with his sin, and God would be very firm with that, and his men were right in that sense that their life was in danger if he wasn't killed. But David had that father's heart, and he refused to call his son an enemy. He was ready to restore because of his own personal, very strong experience with grace. He had been restored. He knew what it meant. And I just want to read from Hebrews 12. There is this beautiful passage about restoration. Hebrews 12. From verse 12. And I want to read until verse 17. Even though a person is chastised because of their sin, they still are not our enemies. And I just I just think about this way also, like, you are involved with God's work and you are seeking the lost. And then so often when you are doing this, you find the ones who are lost again. And you are like, what are you doing? You're lost again, and they need our ministry. Maybe you have that personal experience. You got your life back. From verse 12, therefore strengthen the hands which hang down and the feeble knees, and make straight paths for your feet, so that what is lame may not be dislocated, but rather be healed. Pursue peace with all people and holiness, without which no one will see the Lord. Looking carefully, lest anyone fall short of the grace of God, lest any root of bitterness springing up cause trouble, and by this many become defiled. Lest there be any fornicator or profane person like Esau, who for one morsel of food sold his birthright. Yeah. Yeah. That's my message. I just have this on my heart, and I think that this is the heartbeat of our ministry. And I have been involved with several church plants, and I always wanted our churches to know, and people in the church to know, that whatever happens in your life, whatever mistakes you do, whatever tragedy, whatever idiotism you have done, you always can come back. And come back, because this is the Greater Grace Church.